All right, joining us now online to further unpack this judgment is our specialist reporter, Kenny Mapanga. Kenny, a very good afternoon to you. Good to have you with us. So you are chasing this story for us. Tell us all about today's ruling on Dr. Hlophe's designation to the JSC and, of course, what happens now in terms of the next step.
Well, good afternoon to you, Alicia, and to the viewers at home. Well, essentially what this means for the JSC is that when they took that decision, it was a rational one. And of course, the court has basically cleared any doubt of any of the going ahead of the JSC's interview on Monday, as we know that it will continue without the presence of Dr. John Hlophe. You may remember in September, the Western State High Court, in a full court judgment, concluded that there was a question that needed to be answered regarding the legality of the National Assembly's designation of Dr. John Hlophe to the JSC. In light of that, an interim interdict was granted, which essentially bars Dr. Hlophe from participating in the JSC's processes. Now, we know the JSC meets twice a year, usually in April and October, for these particular interviews to take place. That is to fill judicial vacancies across the country, quite a number that are going to take place this week when they begin on Monday. Of course, Dr. John Hlophe cannot sit in that sitting pending the finalization of this review of his designation to the JSC. So, of course, the MK party wrote to the JSC asking them to postpone this October sitting pending the finalization of that review. In the letter back to the MK, the JSC said in its reasoning of not postponing this sitting is that the review of Dr. Hlophe's designation to the JSC is not finalized yet. Therefore, he remains a member of the JSC. Therefore, it is lawfully composed. And of course, the absence of Dr. John Hlophe is justifiable because the absence is due to a full court order stating that he cannot, in the interim, participate in those JSC processes pending the finalization, meaning that whatever decisions the JSC takes in these upcoming interviews will be rational, they will be lawful, and they can't be challenged in the court of law due to his absence.
All right, I know it's pretty early since the judgment, Kenny. Just maybe to wrap up, have you heard anything from the MK in terms of reaction at this point?
Nothing yet from the MK party. This judgment did come out, I think, about 13 minutes ago, so they probably are still studying the judgment. We know that in the letter that the MK party wrote to the JSC initially, they stated there was obviously the threat of legal action, which would take place on Friday. But of course, they did note that there would be demonstrations, possibly, if the JSC were to continue. So we can expect on Monday at midday, we expect the interviews to start from 12 p.m., that there may be activity outside the venue protesting the absence of Dr. Hlophe in the interim while the parties try and conclude this question of the legality of Dr. John Hlophe's designation to the JSC. Of course, this case has been an important one, a difficult one for the courts to confront, as I think when the drafters of the Constitution drafted the Constitution, they never imagined that they would be dealing with scenarios where you have members of parliament that have been removed from office in terms of the Constitution, and then are now serving in Parliament, given a mandate by the people that voted them into Parliament. And then, of course, this rationality question arises when Dr. John Hlophe was designated to the JSC. And, of course, the JSC is an important body that is responsible for, among other things, the appointment of judicial officers as well as the disciplining of those judicial officers. It is the same body that reached the gross misconduct finding against Dr. John Hlophe. So it is a question of gaps in legislation, but of course a question that needs to be resolved and brought to finality in that review application in order to bring this matter to an end and to deal with the various gaps in legislation as we are seeing in our constitutional democracy, rather, these first-time instances where you are dealing with scenarios where you have persons who have been removed from office now serving as members of parliament.
All right. Thank you so much for the comprehensive update. The SABC News reporter, Kenny Maphanga, on the dismissal of the MK Party's application to the JSC.